And seeing they have not united us through sports, through education, through free healthcare, through what other governments do for their people to make them like their countries, it is this suffering that will make us patriotic. It is the fact that we are a betrayed people, the fact that we are an oppressed people, that will make us better than we are. It is that will make us love our country, because we are shedding blood, we are not happy, we are suffering, and that suffering will make us love our country. I'll give you an example. Colonel Dr. Bwesigye lost a brother in prison. The brother's crime was being a brother to Bwesigye. How he died, he was in prison. We know everyone has a right to healthcare, whether in prison or not. He was denied that right. In the sister's book, she writes about how they tried their level best to get their brother out of prison, to take him for medical help on their own cost. And government refused to do that. We cannot rule out any possibility of him having been poisoned. After all, during one of the times, Museveni was justifying taking his daughter to Germany for producing. He told us that it is possible to poison the daughter. That's why the daughter had to be flown to Germany, because Ugandans might poison her. I wonder why we, the citizens, might poison the first daughter. But if he has such a thinking, that he can be poisoned, the daughter can be poisoned, it's possible that they can poison others. Which means either they poisoned Bwesigye's brother, even though they didn't poison him, the fact that they denied him a right to health care, which his own relatives were willing to pay for, is enough. In law, you can cause death either by an explicit act or by an omission. They knew that his condition was bad and he was going to die. And they let him die by stopping the brother from taking him out of the country for treatment. So, as of now, if we have someone who can afford healthcare but can die because the state wants him to die, you cannot tell me that such a person will ever forget Uganda as the state because of what it is doing to him. And that, though negative, positively creates an unbreakable sense of patriotism in the person. Because there is nothing more to fear if you've lost a brother. His Bwesigye is now named partially. His finger was shot. If you go through all that, reason because of your free expression, you cannot forget the impact the state has had on you. And that in the long run creates patriotism in you. And perhaps that's why some people no longer fear. Because several riots have happened in this country ever since Museveni took power. In, I think it was in 2010, when President Museveni wanted to force his way into the Kasubi tombs that allegedly had been burnt, 2010, 2009, around that time. And individuals, civilians, unarmed, were willing to stop the presidential convoy from going there because of their unhappiness with the regime. What happened to them? They were shot dead. We don't know how many. To date, we don't know how many were shot dead then. But they were shot dead. Directly. So what do we tell those relatives? That they should love Uganda. The only way they can love Uganda is by re-owning Uganda, by taking over Uganda to be theirs. Because they now know that Uganda is not theirs, and actually Uganda is against them. So the only way they can love Uganda is by agitating for the removal of the bad leadership that has taken Uganda away from them. During the Kabaka riots, when the Kabaka was stopped from visiting an area of this country, tens of people were shot, dead. Some people, bullets were finding them in their homes. So at the end of the day, that's what I started with, that you are an activist either because you speak or because you don't speak. Because if you're in your home and a bullet finds you in your home, you're actually sometimes unbothered about what is happening in the outside and your home, but the bullet finds you, so where should we go? There is a time the president was telling us that if we want to walk, we shouldn't walk in this country. So where should we go? At the end of the day, we have nowhere to go. We have no choice but to be activists. Because even though you're not an activist, you will be perceived to be an activist. So you have no choice. They have forced activism onto us. And there is only one way of reacting. We can only do that by making ourselves independent of them. It's not easy in today's economic times to be financially independent, but even when with our poverty, we shall not sell our minds. And I think that is all we are left with. All we are left with is our dignity, all we are left with is our identity, all we are left with our minds. I think definitely that is one thing we are sure that we have. How long will it take to own our country back? I cannot tell. It took the black Americans a lot of time to get voting rights. It took the women a long time to get some rights. I don't think they've gotten all of them yet. It took South Africans, black South Africans, a long time to get to be recognized as citizens and to get freedom. It might take us longer because the man seems not bothered by what we are doing and how we feel. But we are sure that certainly there is such a time somewhere on the calendar, and probably before he dies, and that time will come. It will take the gay and lesbian people much longer, but that time will come. We are sure that time will also come for them. Now, our problem, my problem personally with the West, is how they disregard our problems, they disregard our feelings, they disregard our opinions in favor of their own. I'll give you an example. When David Kato, a gay and lesbian rights activist, was killed in this country, it made international headlines. Everywhere in the West, it made international headlines. There is another Kato, not David, called Gerard, who was shot by the army during the Walk to Work protests in Kireka. This Kato has not made international headlines like David. Yet this is life. David's matter was about life. Gerard's matter is about life. And Gerard's matter is actually easier to follow up because we know he was shot. We might not know the circumstances under which David was hammered to death, but we know the circumstances under which Gerard and very many others have been taken to prison, have been killed, have been injured. One pregnant lady was shot in the stomach and her intestines were oozing out. A baby was shot in Masaka and died. We know all these facts.
Tear gas in primary schools.
Exactly, tear gas in hospitals. But there is no international outrage as compared to when
one homosexual.
I am not saying we should discriminate. I don't support that. All people should be free to do whatever they want to do. But I do not think we are right to also discriminate against the oppressed. Because when we are all oppressed, whether as women, as gay people, as political activists, as food activists. Some people are food activists. They just want food. So it means all of us are oppressed. So why get a particular group? Barack Obama wrote a condolence message when David Kato died. Barack Obama has not written a similar condolence message to the tens of Ugandans that have been shot by the army, an army that the United States of America supports. Because to me, there is responsibility on their part. We know the United States of America is here. They are sponsoring our army. They are training our soldiers to go to Somalia and fight. We know they are. It's not a secret that AFRICOM commanders usually visit Kampala and have dealings with the army. Why do they see this same army beating us, civilians, and they keep quiet? Aren't they part of the problem? We appreciate the statements they make. We appreciate the fact that they say that they are monitoring the situation, that they're following up. We appreciate, but I think it is time to stop following. It is time to make statements and walk the talk. There is absolutely no sense In you saying you're following up and you're telling government to stop repressing, you're telling government to stop shooting at us, you're telling government to allow us express ourselves, at the same time you're equipping that army to beat us. The British government gives us a lot of aid. I think a conservative member of parliament has found out that their aid is being used by one man to buy himself a luxurious presidential jet. They are continuing to give us aid. They allow that man to talk to them, and that man says he represents us, and they see that and deal with him. One, I understand they say business shouldn't mix with politics, but what the hell is Talo Oil doing in Uganda when we're not happy with the Ugandans? And they know that we're not happy. And I believe that security is not a matter of one country. If we are not secure here, they can be secure where they are. If they are benefiting financially from our resources, we also need a share of our own resources. Because in the long run, today it might be Museveni, but tomorrow we might look beyond him. If they do not tell us on which side they are, because definitely the Ugandan society is divided between two extremes. You're either for us or for him. And I'm not even mincing words. It's not for the party does not exist. It's for him as a person. So if you're for him as a person, you are against us as a people. And if you want to deal with him, to do business with him, I can't make a difference right now between Iran, between China, between the United States of America, between the British government, between Ireland, and all the other governments that deal with Museveni. Reason, they deal with him. That's enough for me. Ireland has deals with the government of Uganda. So how should I speak about Ireland? Iran. I think that people of Iran are like me. When the United States of America speaks against the leader of Iran, I don't understand how they can speak against him and not speak against Museveni, who they know deals with him and who they know does what the other man does. Museveni does worse. Because one, we're not educated. There are a few people in this country who are educated enough. The majority, ignorant, in poverty.